see. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Channel Africa, your voice, your sound, and your home. Stay logged right here.
The Good Life, No Catch, The Upside with Ntshongwana and Ntsako Mhlanga.
18 minutes to 4 o'clock on the upside. We are chatting safety concerns and professionalism in the African film and TV space on the back of the conversation we just had with Bomb Productions and everything happening in the South African context regarding Nirvana, Nokwe Mseleko and Bonko Khoza. Joining us now to chat about intimacy and how intimacy is coordinated in these spaces, Dr. Èmil Haarhoff is our specialist joining us on the upside. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon. It's lovely to be with you.
So talk us through what happens when the production houses approach you and they kind of inform you about the intimacy scenes that are going to be taking place on set. What are some of the processes that are at the initial stages of this engagement?
Yeah, so, hopefully we are onboarded onto production in pre-production. That's very important because there's a whole range of processes that we need to follow. First thing I do is I break down the script, read the script, see what intimate content we have. After breaking it down, speak to the director, find out what the vision is for that director have for the specific scenes. And then actually I take that specific vision to every single actor. So I have a one-on-one call and I ask the difficult questions. What are you willing to do? What are you not willing to do? If we have scenes of nudity, what is the amount of nudity that you're willing to show or not willing to show? What is some sexual positions that you are keen to explore or not keen to explore? And then marrying that with the director's vision and seeing if we can find creative solutions. The important thing for us is that there's no surprises. And I think that is something that alleviates a lot of tension and keeps us safe, is making sure that by the time we shoot content, we know what we're shooting. We know what the level of nudity is. We know what is expected of us. And we can really just do the actions. And that can only happen when we follow a process that breaks down what is expected, what is the vision, what is the level of consent, what is the level of non-consent, and how do we find creative solutions so that by the time we do shoot, we can do that safely.
So, Doctor, this is now becoming a global conversation that we're having as viewers, as audiences, but also as people interested in the arts and in television in particular. There's an episode of MAFS that I was talking about yesterday, a production documentary, where they are investigating violations of stuff happening live on camera, where the women who are the wives in the situation have been violated by their husbands on camera. When does it go wrong, and how bad does everything kind of, happen in that situation? Where have you seen it just go awfully wrong? Because I also think we don't have that context as viewers. We don't know what's happening on set.
Yeah. The problem is on set, we sit with a whole range of dynamics. When we're working with actors often just want to do their best work, and sometimes they really throw themselves into work. Other times we see that there might be a space where people really want to take advantage of being in an intimate situation with someone they wouldn't necessarily be, but a script dictates that. We also sit with a dynamic where someone might want to please a director, someone might want to please a producer, someone might want to create a controversy so that they can have a space where they can ride that wave. There's so many dynamics in play, and especially when we're working with intimacy. I think the important thing is that there has to be a third party. It is so sensitive that, and the dynamics, the power dynamics, the complexity of what these scenes entail, not only from a choreographic and design perspective, but also from a human being and a bodily perspective, an emotional perspective, psychological perspective. It is so incredibly important to have a third party that is neutral. Someone that is not thinking with their body, someone that is not thinking for their career, but someone that is standing outside, can perceive what is going on, can draw lines in the sand when it's necessary to draw those lines, And I think, and I want to really just underline and embolden that is why we need intimacy coordinators on set. Because we need someone that stands outside the motion, outside of the power dynamic, outside of the financial situation of our productions, but can draw a line when we see non-consent, when we hear non-consent, or when we feel that we're crossing boundaries that is not safe.
I think with that conversation, I mean, consent also is one of the most, gray area conversations. It's never just a yes or no, right? Because even when consent is given, one can still feel violated in that instance, right? Is there room for intimacy scenes to be done correctly? Because we're also in a continent where we report, violations and sexual violations on a daily basis. Is there still room for intimacy scenes, one, to be valuable in the film industry, or as well to be coordinated correctly?
Yeah, I need to follow your statement with the following and make a counter statement saying, because we are a country with such high levels of sexual abuse, such high levels of gender-based violence, it is so incredibly important that we tell our stories. I don't think we should ever be in a space where we should feel like we can't tell our stories. And the important thing is we need to tell the difficult stories. We need to tell the sexual abuse stories. We need to tell our gender-based violence stories, because that is how we advocate and that is how we teach. But we have to do it safely. And on the back of that, I need to say that I do think South Africa is so incredibly far ahead with how intimacy coordination is integrated into our sets. When sets do it right, South Africa is a global leader in film and in storytelling. However, when we don't do it right and we try and tell stories that's very difficult, that is when people get hurt. And that is when abuse happens on set. In terms of consent is a gray area. It's such a difficult thing. Someone might say yes with them verbally. They might say yes cognitively. I really want to do this. I really want to engage in this content. But then the body just shuts down on the day, or it just shuts down in the moment. And often then that person cannot speak for themselves. And that is when, I have my eyes on that actor or that actress and that performer, and I can step in and say, hey, I'm realizing that your energy has changed. Your mood is changing. You are non-verbal at the moment. What is going on? I can see that the body is tensing up. Where are you? And that takes a specialist to be able to see that, call that out, and then have that conversation with our performer and with our production team and with the director and say, listen, we've crossed the boundary. We're not safe anymore. So it is a tightrope, and it really is a space where the sensitivity should be handled by a specialist.
Dr. Èmil Haarhoff, where do we find you? Where can people find you on the socials?
Yeah, I work for a company called Safe Sets, with a T, Safe Sets, and we are at Safe Sets IC on Instagram and on Facebook.
Thank you so much for joining us on The Upside, Dr. Èmil Haarhoff, Intimacy Coordinator and Young Performer Support Specialist on Channel Africa.
It's 9 minutes.
Africa Matters Minute.
The question that has often been asked is whether it's